I'll bite, Judd. What's the bottom of the truth?
Well, sometimes that is better.
Hello, friends and fiends. Welcome back to Blood and Guts HHN. Tonight, we got a new Hail to the King, where we discuss the works of the master, Stephen King. With me, as always, Mad Matt. How's it going, Matt?
I'm doing fantastic, Adam, because as you know, as you can see from the sign behind me, not only are we reviewing a beautiful Stephen King movie, we're also getting a 2-for-1 special by John Carpenter, who directed the movie Christine. So
That's right.
I'm very excited. How about yourself?
Yeah, I love this movie. I think that as far as, King has a lot of other works,
Right.
Where cars murder people,
Mm-hmm.
Maximum Overdrive and that kind of stuff.
Right.
But I think as far as the car murder movie goes, this one is probably my favorite.
Yep, I'm with you on that. Like as far as car murdering movies go in general, it's probably my favorite as well.
Yep.
Just to begin, then like Christine, come out in the year of our Lord 1983. Like I said, John Carpenter directed this movie. Now, one thing I found out from doing research is John Carpenter, he was kind of in a bad spot because his passion project, The Thing, came out, tried to battle against E.T. and ultimately lost that fight. So
Right.
when he took this job, he's been vocal in saying that this was not something he was very passionate about. It was just more, I need the work and I need to kind of keep my name out there so I can continue to work in the business. So
Yeah.
even though he's never really denounced the movie, but he's never really spoke glowingly of it as well. I think it's fantastic.
I think it's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I think it misses a little bit of his charm with certain character actors that he will, like Buck Flowers,
Right,
and those type of folks that he would cast in several of his pieces.
right.
But it also has a focus that's different than some of his other films,
Right,
and I think that shows as well.
I agree.
But yeah,
So with this one, he had a good budget of $10 million. With the box office itself, it had $21 million. So back in 1983, it broke even at the box office, but it really made its bread and butter when it came out to home video. So it did very well on
Yeah.
video cassette, and like you've seen all the re-releases over the years on like DVD, Blu-ray. I don't know if it has a 4K now or not, but it wouldn't shock me if it doesn't.
right.
One thing about this movie I love is you kind of allude to, he may not have his characters that he normally would work with, but the cast that is in this movie is a fantastic cast. So.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This was very well done, and it reminds me of, with this setting, it reminds me of a '50s movie
Yep.
that was made much later on.
Right.
You know.
And obviously you have that opening scene with the movie where the car's rolling off the assembly line. It's already doing damage to some of the workers.
Yep.
But like you said, that part obviously takes place in the 50s, and the rest of the movie's set in the late 70s. I think it's either 78 or 79. I can't remember.
Yeah,
off
it's
the
the
top of my
late
head.
'70s.
But yeah, like I said, it still has that 50s feel, and I guess because it's from Arnie, where he works on that car, and just the car that has such a big
Yeah.
presence in the film. But Keith Gordon, like we're talking about the cast, Keith Gordon, he's the one that plays Arnie Cunningham. You may know him from Jaws 2 and Back to School, Rodney Dangerfield.
Right.
You got John Stockwell, who played Dennis, and I've always known him as Cougar from Top Gun. That's like the one big movie that he's really known for as well.
Yep.
You got Alexandra Paul plays Lee. Lee, really hadn't seen anything else with her in it that comes off the top of my head. Do you?
Yeah, I haven't seen much with her in it as well either.
But a couple other ones to round it out. We got the great Robert Prosky that plays the Will Darnell, the owner of the shop that Arnie takes his car to. And like I said, I
Yeah.
love him in Last Action Hero, and there's just a lot of other ones that I could bring up as well. But like, he's always a fantastic actor.
That intro with him kind of bullying them
Yeah,
is really good, and he's kind of like this old crotchety,
gruff.
gruff, tobacco chewing bully And I think that works really well in its favor.
I love. He's like, "There's no smoking here. You want to smoke a butt? You take it outside." I'm like,
Yeah.
"Yes, sir. There's
Those guys are smoking. Yeah.
don't be wise.
Yeah.
But then also the great Harry Dean Stanton.
Harry Dean Stanton, classic
playing,
actor.
Playing a detective in Friends and Fiends. He's in a lot. Like you think about the Green Mile, but the one I always pit him back to is Alien.
Alien. Yep.
And, so he does a fantastic job in this movie. And then one other really big name that happens, she's real big in the 90s and 2000s, the late Kelly Preston has a small role in this movie.
Yep.
I can't remember if this was her first movie or not, but just the fact that she was in there. I watched this, like I said, I grew up watching this all my life, and it wasn't until I just recently revisited that I realized Kelly Preston's in this movie.
Yeah, she's kind of the scorned
She's Roxanne.
love interest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, just speaking through all that, great cast in this movie. Like everyone plays well off each other. Like I said, Keith Gordon does a great job as Arnie because he has that great arc where he's starting off like as the bully teenager.
Yeah, very nerdy, very shy, withdrawn, and as he comes into contact with the car, from the moment he sees the car and signs the check, his attitude with his parents gets worse. His general attitude gets worse, so the car's starting to
affect him already. And I'm glad you brought that because that's got one person I forgot to mention in the cast is like Old Man Marley. Robert Blossom is the one that sells him the car, is George LeBay. And like I said, from that moment, he's already correlating that car with how his brother acted and how Christine and his brother were always inseparable. And so you see Arnie have that transformation from being the bully to the bullier, and he's just getting more cocky as he goes along. But anytime you talk about his car in a disparaging way, don't talk about Christine like that.
And that's a little bit of a difference from the book. The book itself, LeBay is
haunting it.
LeBay in the book too is he's not quite evil, but the car corrupts him so much that he neglects his wife and family, and lets his wife die. And lets his daughter die in the car. And LeBay, the brother, the LeBay, he actually, is driving around with the corpse in the car. So that's a big part of the book that they kind of homage it, but they don't actually go down that road.
Right, they kind of touch on like all the deaths that took place in the car, but like you said, then it's like I know in the book he has more of a role as a spirit in the car,
as an evil spirit in the car. Correct.
Where in this movie, right off the assembly line,
transfers over to Arnie. In the book.
Yeah, like where in this movie, right off the assembly line, there's something off about that car.
Right, and I do love that montage, that opening montage.
Oh, I do too. And as usual, like Friends and Fiends, like as far as some other production notes, the producer Richard Corbett, actually he was really close to Stephen King because he produced the miniseries Salem's Lot back in the late 70s. So Stephen King and him actually had a meeting, and Stephen King actually gave him a choice between this script and Cujo. And it wasn't a script, it was just a manuscript where he wrote the novel because the novel hadn't even been published yet.
Yeah, and he had to choose between the two.
And he chose Christine.
Because he thought Cujo was a little too silly.
Right. And I mean, the beauty of this, they were actually filming this, the first week they were filming this movie is when the book actually came out. So it's amazing to me how they already had that in their hands. They're like, we want to produce this.
He's going to make money. His writing is going to make money. So we want that. Yeah.
So some other tidbits as well is like, we're talking about John Carpenter. I know me and you were discussing the score. Like, what are your thoughts on?
Yeah, I mean, if you watch it, a lot of Carpenter films start out with that heavy Carpenter score. This one does not. The score actually does not come in right up until about the time the murders start.
Right.
That's when the score Carpenter, and it's not throughout the whole film, and even when the murders are happening, the score is very it's not as lengthy.
Right.
Let's say. Usually John Carpenter score is like, think about your Escape from New York or They Live or something along those lines.
Halloween.
That Halloween, that score is part of the film. This score is not part of the film.
I'm wondering then, because you make great points on that, and it's very true, because it wasn't, I noticed that he, in the credits, how he done the score, but like you said, I didn't really hear any, pieces of it until we got later in the movie. I'm wondering if that has to do, if it's a studio decision, since he I can't remember if he, I think he does have his name above. Like
It does. It does say
Christine,
John Carpenter's
because I know
Christine.
memoirs he didn't do that.
It does.
But I wonder then where he mentions how this wasn't a passion project, though, if there was like more interference that kept him from doing that, or if that was just his creative decision saying I'd rather have like
Well, the
Bad with ball
opening
play.
the opening score is not a score at all. The first sounds that you hear are the sounds of the engine.
right,
You know, it's revving up and
Mm-hmm.
all this. Then you hear Bad to the Bone.
right,
And that's a cool way to go with it, because I mean I think there was even a cameo by George Thorogood himself somewhere in there. I don't remember where it is.
Right.
It might be in that opening shot where the machine shop is, but I know George Thorogood himself does appear as an actor, as
Right.
an extra in the somewhere in the film.
yeah. I read that down. I'm like, yeah, I don't know exactly where.
But yeah, the score is it's not as Carpenter as I like for it to be.
Well, we're already talking about the assembly line then, so I'm going to go ahead and throw this at you too. So we know the car listed was a 1958 Plymouth Fury.
Plymouth Fury.
They also used a Belvedere and a Savoy in the picture.
Mm-hmm.
And a fun fact is 15% of this movie's budget went to the cars.
Went to
So
the
you talk
cars.
about 10 million, 1.5 million went just for the cars.
Just for the cars, and they turned half of the. So you had the set that was the shop where Arnie's fixing the car.
Mm-hmm.
The other half of the warehouse that's not pictured was an actual warehouse where they could repair the cars and fix them back up when they needed to.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
So
like, my question then to you is, how much do you love like the actual car, the Plymouth Fury?
I love the Plymouth Fury. I'm not. I know it's beautiful in the red.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not particularly fond of red. I would have liked the black car, but I know that shooting
right.
at night, a black car on the night itself would have been a bitch to do.
Oh, no, not only that, and you
Yeah.
think about how, like, for 3/4 of the movie, they black out the windows at night, too, just so
Yep.
to leave you wondering, is Arnie
Yeah.
driving, or is it just Christine?
It's Christine, yeah. But that Fury is sweet, and touching just a little bit on the effects. When they use that effect where the car's rebuilding itself, it's a plastic.
Yeah.
But it's a plastic that I was reading. It looks more metal than actual metal does. So that way you can dent it in, and then you can suction it back to
Right.
where. So what you do is you do the damage of the vehicle, and then you suction it back
Right.
in, and then you run that film in reverse, so it looks like that vehicle is putting itself back together.
Well, I'm glad
Which
you
is
brought
really
up
cool.
the special effects
It's
because
really cool. It's really cool the way they did it.
when I was doing research too, they actually said Carpenter gave Roy Arbogast 3 weeks to find a way because he was just going to shoot around it, and I guess in his everything would happen off camera. But he's like, you got 3 weeks to see if you can come up with a way where we can regenerate this car and get it on film.
That's a hell of a short time period.
Yeah, 3 weeks. I mean, that's just crazy to me, and that's
Well,
That's the beauty.
But that's the thing too. Is sorry, I'm not meaning to cut
No,
you
you're
off.
good.
But Carpenter and his loathing of studio interference, his loathing for working with studios,
Yes.
and not just having his way all the time.
right.
And he probably would come to him and be like, you know what, dude, you got 3 weeks, man, and that's it.
Well, it's like I say, that's the beauty of like films like these, and just that era of filmmaking in general is it's got to be in camera. Like
Has
we
to
don't
be
have
in
we don't
camera.
have CGI at the time, and I mean. I was watching this with my son the other night, and he was actually talking about how amazing. He's like, "How did they do that?" And I explained to him how they had the hydraulics and they can suck it in.
Suck the car
Film-
metal
They're
into
filming
the plastic.
it. He actually kind of goes, "Did they film it in reverse?" I was like, "Absolutely, they filmed it." It's just little camera
Yep.
tricks like that to make it believable. But not only does it make it believable, it makes stand the test of time to where here we are in 2024 watching the movie from 1983, and it looks just as great today as
And
it did then.
if they remade that right now, if they
CGI.
remade that right now in CGI, and you watched it, you would go, that does not look like a cool car with damage regenerating itself. You would think that's CGI.
Right, and going back to like speaking on the special effects, the sequences of all the murders in this movie were fantastic. Like just thinking about all of the body count, and I believe the body count is 8. Let me just double check. Yeah, I got the body count written down as 8 people that
8.
Perished in this movie.
Yeah.
What was your personal favorite scene?
My personal favorite scene is when he runs down, what's the character's name? Mookie or Moochie or
I can't.
it's
remember
the
off top of my
first
head.
it's the first character
Yeah,
that he runs down, the heavy set dude. He runs him down, and that whole scene, it's pretty much stalking him.
Right.
Like he kind of sees it, and he's looking like this, and he's like,
Are you mad?
"Are you mad yet?" So it's like playing games with him, and then you have that very iconic down the alleyway. Headlights are behind him. He's running. We use it actually in the intro to our Hail to the King segment, just for a small moment. That is probably my favorite kill, just because of the way it's shot. It's very Carpenter.
I'm glad you mentioned the headlights too, because that was another thing. They actually use 12-volt batteries to really ramp up the brightness of, of those lights, and I just like you said,
It's
the
like
shot,
the eyes of the villain. It's like the eyes are
and it's just iconic
kinda,
and looks amazing.
Yep.
Now, my personal favorite scene, piggyback, is almost similar. Is the main bully? I cannot remember his name off the top of my head.
Yeah, I can't remember his name. But he's the one with the switchblade.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I told myself, look at John Travolta there.
Yeah, he looks like a Travolta. Type of
knowing well
Grease
Travolta.
character. Yeah.
But I love how when he's running down the street doing the same thing, the car's just on fire.
The car's on
completely
fire. That's probably my favorite scene in the movie. Is the car on fire.
And like just piggybacking on what you said, the car is toying with him, because you see the car's kind of like slowed down. It's not going as fast as it can go. It's just watching him run.
No, it's because the car's much faster than the man.
Right.
He's just kind of playing with him at this point.
And then just when it runs him over, he's just completely in flames as well. So you see the bullies. You hate to see. I mean, in real life, you don't want to see anybody die, but in the movie, they get what they
and
deserve.
when he runs the body over, now the body is on fire.
Right.
And it kind of does remind me. We go on a little sidetrack, but it reminds me of the Radiohead video, where I think Spike Jonze shot that video, where the car is on fire, and they're filming from all angles inside the car, and you can see it's on fire, and there's nobody driving it. It's just going down the street.
Yeah.
And they took that scene from Christine and just amped it up to about 900 for that video. And I'm wondering if that video had an influence over, I wonder if they were influenced by Christine.
Right.
If you know, let us know in the comments. But that's a sidetrack. But
Moving right along, then, like keeping it going. One of the other deaths that really stuck out to me was Robert Prosky's death. Like you see, like the car comes back in, and it's smoking from where it's been on fire, and he has that shotgun with him, and just trying to figure things out. And then the car is almost like inviting him in when he opens the door and looks to see there's nobody driving. It's just like masterfully done, because it would have worked with another actor maybe, but Robert Prosky just does it with his facial expressions and like how he's looking at the car and just looking all like just mad at what's going on, trying to figure out if it's Arnie or
well,
not.
I like he makes the phone call first too.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Did he show up? He's driving my Cadillac."
Right.
Okay, so he thinks somebody else now is in the vehicle. So
yeah, that's a fantastic shot too. So last but not least, then the final act of the movie, where you still don't know, like, is Arnie actually involved in the car or not?
Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, folks. Spoiler alert. If you have not seen Christine or the ending, we got some spoilers coming your way. Avert your ears.
Exactly. Just the whole how they get him to go back to the garage, like they key the car.
He writes it in with like a screwdriver into the hood. Yeah.
But then just having that final battle with the car with the bulldozer, like what are your thoughts on that and how it was shot?
I love how it's shot. I love it that it keeps crushing the car, and it gets almost to the nose of the car, but then the car starts to rebuild itself. So he's like, "Shit!" So now I got to crush it again. So he crushes it again,
right?
And as he keeps crushing it, it keeps rebuilding,
right?
And
it's the Wolverine of Plymouth.
And that's freaking crazy. I mean,
and I love that too. And what I love when we was watching it, the whole time, where my oldest son, he loved this movie. Like I was surprised at how much he loved it.
I'm glad. Yeah.
So, is there a sequel? Is there going to be another one we can watch?
Christine Burton?
And I was like, just wait and see.
Yeah.
So then you see that hook at the very end where the car just starts regenerating just a
little bit, just a little bit of a movement.
Then fades to black. But I mean, I'll be honest with you, with this one, I would never want. I don't even know where you pick up with a sequel for this.
I wouldn't want a sequel to it. I think it stands alone in your mind to picture whatever you want.
Yeah. And I know back in 2021, I have not seen any news since then, though. So, friends and fiends, if you have any news on it, leave in the comments. But a remake was announced from Brian Fuller is set to direct. So
I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't.
Why would you want to?
Yeah. So I mean, if it does move forward, hopefully we'll get something good. Like I hope Mr. Fuller like has a passion for it, and it's not like with unfortunately what Carpenter said with this one, how it was just a job. I hope it's a passion project.
Because but this goes to show you that even though for Carpenter, it was more for the money, and yes, there was studio interference, there was heavy studio bullshit going on.
Right.
It's still a damn good film
I love
because
this
Carpenter. Movie. Because Carpenter. If somebody else would have done it without that weight, it wouldn't be the same thing.
Now, what's fascinating to me is when the movie come out. Like I said, it didn't do like fantastic, but it didn't do bad either. It did above average for a horror movie as far as box office goes.
Right.
And it's had a strong cult following since, because here we are 41 years later and we're still talking about this movie.
Yeah.
And but Stephen King actually related this film to The Shining, where he says that it bored him. And there's a lot of other Stephen King movies that I say fall down to the bottom of the barrel.
Oh yeah.
Where this one I'd like to prop up. Like it's one of my favorite Stephen King movies.
Yeah.
So with that being said, how many Goldblums would you give this one?
I'm giving this 4 out of 5 Goldblums.
Of course.
Of course. Yeah. Yes.
I couldn't agree more. I give it 4 Goldblums. I might. Yeah, I'll still stick with 4. I might lean to 4.5, but I'll give it 4 Goldblums. I think it's a fantastic film. I think it's every actor is perfectly cast and does a great job. So, friends and fiends, if you've not seen this movie, I highly encourage you to seek it out and give it a watch.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, I could even go for more. I mean, because it shows him fixing the car. I could have even went for another couple of 10, 15 minutes of him, because it shows the sequence of him fixing the car, but I could have even went for more time where you show that car, him really putting his blood, sweat, and tears into it. Where, now it's looking better and better and better. Right. I could have went for more. So.
Me too.
And then you'd have a longer film, and I'm sure that there may be some stuff on the cutting room floor, but, I think it stands the test of time. Great film.
Oh, I do too. So, friends and fiends, if you've seen Christine, how many Goldblums would you give it? Let us know in the comments, because we'd love to hear from you. And as usual, give us a like and subscribe to the channel, because we'd love you to keep coming back for these movie reviews and HHN news and maybe news on other haunts.
That's right. And as always, stay spooky, and we'll see you in the next one. And remember.
Your new Plymouth is here now. You're ahead for keeps in the Plymouth. It's the leader of the low price breed. You're ahead for keeps in the Plymouth. It's the smart car to see. The way Plymouth looks, the way Plymouth rides, no wonder everyone decides you're ahead for keeps in the Plymouth. In the car that's always you get behind.